Dave's Broken Diamond Club, written by Unda, voice acted by Nerdhilistic. Hello, my name is Jay, pronouns they, them, theirs.
And this is the Princess Ka / LittlKat / whatever, pronouns they, them, theirs.
Chapter 6. This is for real, Motion City soundtrack. Live performance of this song was interrupted by the lead singer mauling a roadie harassing his monorail. 5 stars, would see again. Outlet music evaluation column.
I had some nightmares clawing at my skin and bones. I nearly did explode. You smoked the demons, gave me back my feelings. Now I am good to go. Before my face hits the floor, there's just one thing you should know. This is for real.
You just listened to a fabulous song that M did. That definitely was done before this was recorded.
Absolutely.
And so we know exactly what it sounds like, and we can now say,
it's great.
Fuck you. A week of planning passes and still no Dave. It's possible that he's staying with someone else, but he's not answering your messages. You don't message anyone else about him, though. It's clear that Durka doesn't approve of you at all, and you hardly want to give him the impression that you can't respect boundaries. You focus on your plans instead. You really want a way of getting cameras into Dave's hive so you can be sure that his Lucis and just his Lucis is there when you blow the place to hell.
If your life was a movie, you'd be sitting by the window looking down on the baking city as Dave stumbles towards the base of your building, but you're actually in your nutrition block, throwing expired food out and tossing crusted dishes into the washer. As such, you're caught off guard when Dave throws your front door open and slams it behind himself.
Dave!
You exclaim, rushing out into the main room and finding him slumped against the door. He wordlessly hisses at you when you get close, his cracked lips pulling back to flash his sharp teeth. You come to a halt a few steps away from him. His skin is raw and sun-scorched. Not so bad that you're worrying about him dying, but that's surely got to hurt. His bandana that covered his face before is gone.
Dave, are you okay?
You ask worriedly, reaching for him again. He hisses once more and you pause, thinking of the only other person you know who's been outside like that without being a rainbow drinker. Is he sun-blinded? Cautiously you float his shades off of his face, though he does half the work by jerking back from you when the glasses move. His eyes aren't the scorched red of Terezi's, but they're unfocused and he's not looking at you. No, you might be dealing with an entirely different condition here. Mind leeches make zombies, the shambling undead that curse your world, and Cal is one. Is it possible that he did that?
Dave, come on, talk to me.
You plead. Dave lurches forward towards you and you jerk back in fear, only for him to stumble past mindlessly towards your block. Seeing no other option, you follow him, wincing as he bounces off of the doorframe and barely catches himself on his feet. He swerves into your ablution block and slumps over the counter.
What's wrong? You're really weird, Dave. Are you hurt, or...
You trail off as Dave lashes out an uncoordinated hand to slap the knob in your sink to fill it with water. In the process, he knocks a bunch of shit on the floor and, naturally, backhands your toothbrush right into the load gaper because, of course he does. Looks like you're not brushing your teeth today. Dave dunks his head in the water for a solid second or two, and just when you're about to grab him to pull him out, he jerks back and you catch him making eye contact with his reflection, and you see a flicker of recognition in his eyes. Dave might not be all here for reasons that elude you, but you're sure he's in there somewhere.
All turning up to Dave. Are you in there?
You say, trying to keep your voice as bright and non-threatening as you can. The last thing you want to do is to alarm him. He turns around and whatever awareness he had is gone. His eyes skip over you, and it's as if the lights inside have gone off. Dave blindly grabs for the hem of his shirt and goes to pull it up from the bottom, only it catches somehow and he yowls in pain.
Hey, careful!
You warn him, rushing forward and grabbing his wrists. He snaps out of your grip and goes to claw you, but you carefully restrain him with your psionics.
Are you hurt?
You ask, not really expecting an answer. You move yourself between his legs so he can't kick you and carefully move to peel his shirt up by yourself. Dave hisses sharply and struggles so you hold him a little tighter. His shirt is stuck to something, so you have to get your hand in there to feel.
It's tape.
He has tape on his skin. You pull it away from the shirt and then lift it up more and realize just what it is you're looking at. Dave's black bandana is folded up a few times into a rectangular kind of shape, and it's taped onto his skin around his side. The tape around the edges even goes up to his grub scars at the top and down to a few inches above his hips on the bottom. There's then a big X of tape across the middle of it. You have a horrible feeling you already know what you're going to find, but when you reach out and touch it, your fingers come away wet and mutant red.
Okay, we need to get this off, clean you up, and put something better on. So this shirt has to go.
You tell Dave, who is snarling at you threateningly, but still not quite seeing you. Though your hands shake, you keep your voice calm and rip his shirt in two down the middle, right through his false rust sign, and pull it off of his back, though he snaps at you for getting that close. You explain what you're doing as you're doing it, telling him,
"It'll all be okay. I've got you."
Getting the tape off is no easy feat. With every pull, Dave makes a terrible pained sound, and you finally have to conclude that you're just going to have to rip the thing off in one go. You slide closer to him, so your hips are pressed to his, and keeping him in place against your counter, and not attempting to run off somewhere. You tug your first aid kit close by, and open up some bandages as you do so, knowing that you'll probably have to patch him up really quickly.
"This is probably going to suck. I'm sorry,"
you whisper, and press one hand to the skin to the left of the tape, and with the other, you grip the tape that you've managed to peel up so far. Stealing your nerves, you rip the tape off. Dave screeches and you lean into him to stop him trying to escape and forget that although you've restrained his arms, that's all you've restrained. Dave lunges forward and sinks his teeth into the meat of your shoulder, and you're a skinny fuck, you don't have a lot of body mass there to begin with. You scrabble for a square bandage and press it into the wound, trying to keep pressure on it, but it clearly hurts him because he just sinks his teeth in further.
"It's okay. Come on, Dave. Snap out of it."
You plead, dropping your head to his shoulder as you fight your own pain reflex to claw him up and get away. It's all you can do to keep that repressed and keep his hands away from you.
I don't want to hurt you, man, but shit.
You hiss out. You reach up with your free hand and find his face, hoping that you can just push him away from you and he won't take a chunk of your shoulder with him. The moment your careful fingers tap on his cheek, almost all of the pressure goes out of his bite. He's not letting you go, but he's also not biting it harder anymore. You're pretty sure that you're dealing with, the lowest part of his brain right now? He was hurt, so he went somewhere he felt safe, which is something you'll delight about when there aren't teeth in your shoulder. He was in pain, so he lashed out, and now you almost papped him and he relaxed. He's clearly not with it enough for you to reason with him, and you're trying to help him, but you can't until he lets you go. You don't have any real choice.
"Shh. Shush,"
you whisper, patting his face, and yes, he lets you go. You pull back, and naturally you're bleeding, but there's no terrible gush of arterial spray, so you'll likely be fine. Dave's eyes are shut, and his face is pushed into your palm.
Peering at his wound tells you that he already tried to dress this himself. There's adhesive stitches and bandages stuck there, but they're so drowned in blood that they're not sticking anymore. You pull them off and press yet another new bandage there. It's not actually bleeding that fast, or as badly as you might have thought. It's clearly been going for a while, and there's a lot of bruising, which either means he was pretty badly hurt when he was cut, or he got hurt again after he patched himself up.
Dave's teeth scratch the inside of your palm, and you rapidly change your focus. You're not exactly cool with him biting your shoulder, but you use your fucking hands for your computer. How can you code or destroy people at video games if Dave decides he's going to take some of your fingers? But he's not looking like he intends to bite you. Instead, his mouth is open in a grimace and his eyes are screwed shut.
One of his eyes slides open, and finally, it looks like it's Dave looking back at you.
"Solix,"
he rasps, blinking weakly at you. "Oh, thank fuck,"
you say, blessedly grateful that someone up there decided to finally give you a fucking break. I was on a train,
Dave says, looking around. "Shh, just stay still and let me stop this fucking bleeding,"
you tell him, crouching down now that you know he's not going to claw your face off or kick your torso inside out. The bandage you had is sodden already, so you toss it onto the pile of the others. The wound isn't bleeding out fast, but it's not stopping.
You remove your hand from Dave's hip to reach out to the shirt, bandana and bandages on the floor, but as soon as you do, Dave starts to topple downwards. You catch him just before he smacks his head on anything, but it's close. You eye the bloodied things on your floor and mentally estimate the amount of liquid they're holding. Even if this is all that he's let out, that's quite a bit, and Dave isn't a big guy, and there's only so much blood someone can lose and still be okay. "Right, we're moving,"
you tell him, and pick him up bodily with your psionics and set him on the floor right by your coon. It's not as easy to clean as the tile of the ablution block, but the carpet out here at least means he won't do himself any harm if he decides to sit up and then faints and hits his head. Which, knowing Dave's track record with good ideas, is, well, it's likely.
You need to tell me how you got this.
You tell him. You don't say that you need to know before he passes out. I don't. I was with Cal. He does his head fuckery and things go kind of sideways. I lose time after.
Dave says, rubbing at his mouth with the back of his hand. Yeah, you weren't exactly yourself when you got here.
You nod. So you were right that it was something to do with the mind leech, some kind of temporary mental zombification.
How did you get this?
You ask and put pressure on the wound with another clean part of bandage. Ah, fuck!
Dave yips and nearly knees you in the ribs.
That hurts. I was fighting him so I could go and I don't remember. I remember patching up and wanting to get out ASAP, but then I was on the train and I think I popped a stitch or...
Dave isn't making much sense. So, assuming the train ride from Dave's place is a few hours, and the walk to the train is at least half an hour, so that means he must have managed to stop the bleeding enough that he thought he could make the train ride. He must have made it worse somehow on the way. Clearly he doesn't recall what that was, but if you find out someone did this to him, you're going to destroy them. Still, you need to stop this bleeding.
I've got blood in my mouth,
Dave says in quiet horror, and you look up in alarm. If he's coughing up blood, then this is a new problem that you have to fix. But no, he's just looking at his hands with your blood on them. It's mine, you're fine.
You tell him and paw through your medical kit. You're not sure stitches will help right now, not the kind you have here at least. They're the same sticky kind that Dave tried that failed him. Why is your blood in my... Holy shit, what happened to you?
Dave demands, sitting up sharply and making the gash on his side spit blood halfway up your wrist. Jesus Christ, Dave! Why are you like this?
I will care for your shoulder that I just bit.
You are making things so much worse.
I'm dying, but I will help you.
We have priorities! We have bad priorities!
No priorities. You're my priority.
So healthy.
So healthy.
And for Solix too, like, my shoulder's fine.
My shoulder. It's mine. Don't worry about it.
Blood. Who cares?
It's not yours. Shut up.
It's not yours, so who cares?
Why is your blood in my... Holy shit, what happened to you?
Dave demands, sitting up sharply and making the gash on his side spit blood halfway up your wrist. But it's like he doesn't even notice as he tries to touch the bite wound on your shoulder. Stay still, stupid!
You snap at him and shove him back down. Fuck, it hurts.
Dave whimpers, his hand reaching for his agitated injury. You smack it away. He doesn't need to make it worse.
I'm sorry. Showing up here. Shit's ridic, man.
He adds, you need to disinfect this, actually, or else you might just die later on down the line. You fumble for the antiseptic, and, with a regretful look, pop the bottle open and just pour it on the wound. Dave howls, and his claws scrape along the floor. I'm sorry.
You apologize. You want to wipe the stuff away, but you also need to make sure it's got everywhere.
You should talk. Distract yourself.
You suggest as you fumble for more gauze. Yeah, okay. Yeah, running my mouth is my thing. My jam. Jams! Hey, so you've seen porn like this.
Dave. God damn it, Dave.
Yeah, okay, yeah, running my mouth is my thing. My jams. Hey, so I've seen porn like this.
Dave gasps, his breathing sharp and fast. What?
You say, looking up at him as your hand totally misses your medical kit. Pale porn. Guy shows up. Oh, look how hurt I am. Take care of me. And I guess that's what I'm doing. Show up here out of my mind needing you.
He breaks off into a snarl as you dab the antiseptic away. I take it back. Shouldn't have asked you to talk.
You mutter. Damn it, this wound hasn't stopped bleeding even a little. I'm right, though. We're like one. Shut up. Make me for the good shit that bumps the rating up.
Dave laughs slightly wildly. But seriously, shut up. I need to think.
You say, shaking your head and trying to close the damn cut. Fuck, that hurts. Oh yeah, my line. Make me.
Dave says breathlessly. You're delirious with pain and whatever Cal did to you.
You tell him firmly. Come on, think of a way to close this. Think. Dave is still talking, but you've tuned him out. You can't listen to the things he says and focus on saving his life. It's not like you have a lot of medical skills here. Your skills lay more in destroying shit with psionics.
Oh, that could work, but it's not going to be good. You kneel up and fumble for your belt.
What the fuck?
Dave says in total confusion as you pull your belt out. You might want to bite that and not your tongue. This is gonna suck.
You tell him, shoving your belt into his hands. You hold your hand up and focus until you have a perfectly neat arc of red and blue glowing between your index and middle finger. I trust you. I really, really do.
Dave babbles and grabs your good shoulder with one hand. You see his eyes focus on your arc of psionics, and understanding clicks on his face.
But, just don't tell me. Just do it when you're gonna,
he tells you. You nod, and Dave flops back fully, and you hear your belt clink. You wipe the blood away from the wound again and watch it. You can see where most of it's coming from, and so without warning him, you press your fingers to that point.
Oh, fuck!
You can't make out Dave's muffled cursing, but if you could, you're pretty sure LittlKat would be jealous of it. You quickly hold the rest of the wound shut and burn it closed with Psy, your fingers pressed to his skin. When you take your hand back, there's just an angry red scar there, with thin, dark, lightning-webbed patterns coming out of it. You still here?
You ask, shuffling up until you're face-to-face with him. Dave throws your belt off to the side weakly, and you can see the bite indents on it and figure that he's apparently got bite strength for days. You should probably warn LittlKat sometime, or let him work that one out for himself next time they're pitched for each other. It actually sounds like distinctly not your problem. I'm cool,
Dave says, a little breathlessly. No shit!
You laugh, wild and high off the joy that he's not dead. Was it real bad?
Dave asks. I wouldn't have done that if I could have just slapped a My Little Hoofbeast adhesive bandage on it and called it a night.
You snort and wipe your hands on your shirt. Please tell me you have those. I can die happy if I know that.
Dave giggles, slightly deliriously. You pull your now ruined shirt off and scrub at your claws until you give up and throw the balled-up thing at Dave's head. He laughs and pushes it off, and you watch the smile fall off his face. He tries to sit up, and you help him out of reflex, making sure he doesn't pull too much on his sealed injury.
Did I?
Dave trails off, and you watch him run his tongue over his teeth.
Did I really do that?
Like I said, you weren't yourself. You were a zombie. And you were hurt, and I made it feel worse when I was trying to help. It was a reflex.
You assure him. Dave's jaw drops, and he gives you the most incredulous look you've ever seen. You thought I was a zombie, and you let me get close enough to you to bite you?
He squawks in outrage. No, I thought I saw you in there. You, not just on autopilot zombie mode you explain.
Have you never watched a horror movie? Everyone thinks that. That's half of the way zombies get close to people, is dumbasses with no genre savvy thinking they can help their pale crush and getting bit.
Dave shouts. It was worth the risk.
You say, like you'd even considered the risk at any length or seriousness. All you'd seen was him needing your help, and you'd flung yourself in head first. If I ever go zombie, you shoot me on sight, you hear?
He orders you, and drags your first aid kit closer with his own psionics, though the effort makes him sway a little, and you have to steady him a bit. Sorry, you're just gonna have to eat me. I'll still try to help.
You tell him sincerely, and the worst part is that even though you're saying it jokingly, you know it's true. You are bought and owned by Dave at this point. You're beyond stupid for him. It's critical by now.
Dave tears open an antiseptic wipe with his teeth and glares reprovingly at you Dave tears open an antiseptic. Shh. This is gonna be great.
You're doing the next one. I could do this.
Okay, cool.
We'll see if I fare any better, guys.
Woo! Whew. I can read.
Famous last words of a person who can't read. The antiseptic wife.
Wait, it sounded like you said wife. My antiseptic wife.
Just a woman you, rub on people to keep them from going into sepsis. Here, you're fine now.
This is the healing human.
Take her. Keep her close. Dave tears open an antiseptic wipe with his teeth and glares reprovingly at you as he presses it into some of the teeth marks on your shoulder. You cringe back from the pain, but he doesn't let you, so instead you just sit there, awkwardly astride one of his legs as he fixes up the mess that he made of your shoulder. It seems that now he's not gushing blood, and you're not burning him, he's stabilizing. You're hardly going to look that gift hoofbeast in the mouth, but still.
You don't have to. You should probably be sleeping this off after you drink something. It's just a bite.
You tell him, and he flicks you in one horn and continues to ignore your words. Evidently, he's set on at least partially returning the favor.
You stay there and bite your tongue on all the things you could say that you want to. Hey, so, I know you said we couldn't be Moirels, but wild idea. How about we do that? So, fun fact, it looks like there's very little I wouldn't do for you. Please let me stay with you. Please, please. It's also stupidly desperate, needy, and demanding things from him, and if you know anything about Dave, you know that is just the sort of thing that drives him away. But there's got to be a point at which not asking for things back is going to kill you somehow, from grief or possibly spontaneous combustion. But it's not like Dave isn't giving back. Right now he's looking after you, even after you said you'd rather get him in sober for his own good. He's doing what's best for you, even if you're too dumb to know to ask for it.
That's basically the difference between a moirail and a mate spread. Karkat might do things that aren't great for his own well-being, and certainly Dave would be likely to express concern. He's not an asshole. But if he's faced with a situation where what Karkat needs is to talk about something that'll make him unhappy and cause a fight, but ultimately make him better, then Dave probably wouldn't do that. He might try for it, but when what would make Karkat happier now is something else, then that's the path for red romance. It's loving someone for who they are and all the things that make them pitiable. Pale is loving someone for who they are and who they can be, to love someone hard enough that you're willing to suffer that rough part to get to something better for them. Like making you sit here with your thoughts as Dave ensures you won't get infected from his mouth germs getting in your shoulder. To know you well enough to go, yeah, I should probably get in sober at some point, but maybe you shouldn't get sepsis.
But you're not moirails. Somehow.
I'm sorry I bit you.
Dave says, entirely and thankfully ignorant to your thoughts. Don't worry about it.
You tell him, and he tosses the antiseptic wipe off to the side. You stand up and psionically pull him to his feet. Being vertical makes his dizziness worse, and you have to hold him up with your mind as you help him out of his shoes, because he can't get his stupid skinny jeans off easily at the best of times, much less with shoes on. But soon enough, he's there in his boxers, which appear to be covered in little meow beasts, which you have questions about, but that's for later. Figuring he's had enough red for now, you dump him in the blue side and poke him in the face with a bottle of sports drink until he takes it. They're the ones with electrolytes and shit that claims to be healthy. The kind you buy when you're lying to yourself about how many energy drinks you have and how good for you they may be.
By the time you've thrown everything salvageable in the washing machine, and thrown out anything that's not, including your poor toothbrush, it's about time for you to sleep as well. When you make your way back to your coon, Dave is out cold with one arm dangling over the side and the other one pillowing his face against the rim of the coon. You climb into the red side and lean against the divide. Looking at him like this is kind of hard, and tinged with a hint of good-bad ache inside your thoracic cavity. You literally have no clue how Karkat dealt with having feelings for Dave for so long before anything came of it, though goodness knows if they'd have ever gotten their shit together if you hadn't intervened.
You sleep restlessly, with nightmares of zombies jerking you awake well before you should be. You give up on sleep and haul yourself out of the red half of your coon and go shower. Your shoulder is tender to the touch and a little swollen where you got bitten, so you mostly try to leave that alone and try to pick a shirt where the seam doesn't sit just there. Dave is still out cold, his sunburnt face slack with sleep. You reach into the blue soaper and gently spread a thin layer on his skin to help him heal from the burn.
You sneak out to your main room and sit down on your lounge plank and think, balancing your husk top across your knees. You know where Dave's Lucis is. You will soon have a weapon to take him out. You can tell if Dave is there or not if he is with you at the time, but it'd be really bad if you failed to kill Cal and he hunted you and Dave down for it. Or if you did kill him, but also some other innocent troll, especially one Dave cares about like Durka. So you need a way to see in there without going there yourself. Drones are a no-go, the Mind Leech would surely spot that, and going there to set up cameras is both stupid and breaking your promise to Dave.
You go online and focus on finding the smallest cameras that you can that can transmit, but they're all still too big. Ugh, hardware is just not your thing. Or at least not to this extent. Building husktops or networks is your deal, but inventing tiny cameras is well out of your wheelhouse. You're pretty sure that it's not Equace's jam either. The guy lacks fine motor control and precision, even if he is better than he used to be when you were kids. Think. Who else do you know? Who else is good with tech? You groan and sink a little lower, but you have no choice here. Who is TT?
TT is Durka.
Durka is the southern?
Yes. So, we have canon voices for these kids. Dave and Durka are from Texas.
Okay.
We had Dave, with no accent, because we figured that he would think it was ironic to be from Texas and have no accent.
Yeah.
But we gave Durka an accent because he is from Texas in the future, which is largely underwater, and his skyrise apartment is the only thing that survived. So we thought that he would think it would be ironic if he had a Texas accent, even though nobody else
lives in Texas.
Yes.
Love it. Think. Who else do you know? Who else is good with tech? You groan and sink a little lower, but you have no choice here.
Let's just say up front that we can take it as read that neither of us is happy about this conversation taking place.
A sensible assumption.
Right, so let's pretend that we're people who can have a normal conversation despite you trying to kill me recently.
Lucky for you, Roxy was there.
Yeah, you're right. If she wasn't there, things would have got bad for me. I imagine Dave would have been upset at me turning you into a heap of ash.
Just where are you going with this?
Don't make that stupid outrage emote face at me. I'd rather cut my bulge off than have it anywhere near you.
Consider the feeling mutual. Sooner cut yours off, that is.
Ha. I have a question for you, since Dave said that you're good with tech and your Moirail seemed to know her stuff. I'm more of a software guy. I need robotics expertise, and the guy I know won't be any help.
Oh, robotics is actually my thing. But why? Did you piss off your normal guy or something?
Considering the shit that guy has pulled, I think he'd do me a favor no matter what at this point. No, he's not exactly into delicate work, and I need something small made.
I'm not offering to help, but I am curious. What exactly do you need made and why?
I think what I want is a bunch of small cameras, but what I really need is a way of finding out if there's any other living, moving thing within a certain range.
That doesn't answer my why question.
Gotta be honest, I don't really trust you enough to tell you.
Sensible. I don't trust you either.
Guess I'm gonna need another plan.
All right. Do I need to threaten you again? To reiterate that I don't trust you around Dave, and if you hurt him, I'll destroy you and all you hold dear, etc.? And the only reason I haven't so far is because Dave would be upset and Roxy would be annoyed.
And that I think that you're a controlling, jumpy weirdo who I basically don't trust at all. Yeah, I think we're both clear.
Well, okay then. With the unpleasantries out of the way, I suppose all that's left to say is hit me up if you come to a decision on that robotics project. If you can give me a non-creepy reason for wanting that, I might be able to help you.
Sure, whatever. You close your husk top and rub at your temples.
Cold!
Comes a startled shout from the other room, and if you strain your ears, you can hear the sound of running water. Dave must have got up without you hearing him and gone to shower. Turn it the other way, you shout.
Bite me!
Dave shouts back at you. Then we'd be even.
You call back. You don't want him to actually feel bad, but annoying people for fun is probably ingrained in your DNA. Figuring that you should also be nice, you go to your washer, only to find that the stupid thing got confused and didn't dry anything. You set it going, but he's not...
That's so real! That's such a real moment here in this fantasy series. The dryer is never done!
Accurate.
Sorry, please do it again. I got excited. It's like all the little
Sounds
things,
like you've had lots of problems with dryers.
Yes.
Only to find that the stupid thing got confused and didn't dry anything. You set it going, but he's not going to have anything to wear. Unless he has more clothes in his Silodex, which, given how he lives on the move a lot, he probably does. You're probably okay, right?
Your question is sort of answered when Dave comes out of your room wearing bee-patterned sweatpants, red and blue socks, and a solid gold hoodie, the metallic surface of which rustles when he flips the hood up.
You have some fantastically terrible clothes,
he says with a grin. They're not terrible.
You tell him, and Dave holds his arms out and gives you a rustling twirl as if to prove his point.
I wear most of that a lot.
You point out and walk right up to him. I stand by my point.
Dave sasses at you. Except for this,
you say, and poke at the rustling gold hoodie. Too hideous even for you?
Dave gasps. Aradia gave it to me,
you say, and Dave's face freezes, like he can somehow rewind time through sheer force of will.
You'd have liked her. Same bullshit sense of humor. Also, it never fit. I'm not as small as you.
You laugh and jerk on the drawstrings until it's closed around his face so much that only the tip of his nose and his mouth are exposed. You asshole, he says accusingly.
He wriggles free of the prison you trapped him in, negotiating his horns out of the hood. They were never meant to fit through the cut-out holes that were designed for your thinner double set. That's me. How do you feel, anyway?
You ask and reach gently for his side. Kind of like I got stabbed a lot, fell down a lot of stairs, and then got electrocuted, I guess. The shower made me feel more like a troll again, but I still feel like reheated garbage.
Dave groans. You should eat something. If you're injured, you need food to repair yourself.
You inform him. Oh, that's a good idea. So you've already eaten then, huh? Mr. I got bit?
Dave challenges you. Shut it.
You mutter and walk off. Okay, so you hadn't thought about feeding yourself until he asked. Big deal. Only it kind of is a big deal because he cares, and also he's poking you into taking care of yourself. You try not to react to that thought as you stare at the food you have in the hunger trunk.
You make stuff to eat and then give Dave food and painkillers as the two of you sit down on the lounge plank before the TV together. You stopped the bleeding all right, but he's still hurt pretty badly. Not so bad that he can't run his mouth constantly, but bad enough to make you be the one to get up and get him things. Though you can't help but notice that the one time he asks you to get something that makes you reach and use your bad shoulder, he suddenly decides that he doesn't want it and calls you back. I have a question about Cal.
You say quietly, combing your fingers through the short hair at the base of his neck. Dave melted a little over time, and now he's slumped over your lap. Ugh, fine,
Dave says into your jeans. His mind control thing, just how does it work? Is it like Vriska's?
You ask. She's never used it on me, so I can't straight up compare, but he just makes your body do stuff without you wanting to. You're still aware, which is worse, really.
Dave explains. That's different to Vriska,
you say. You don't remember being controlled?
Dave asks in surprise. I remember parts, without meaning to.
You correct yourself. I think that's just repressing the memory,
he says carefully. Well, he may be right. You know Tavros was aware when Vriska made him leap off of a cliff. But all the same, if Cal's mind control is just the same as Vriska's, then that's far easier, if so. How to smartly clarify that? Is that what you meant before, when you told me that he fucks with your head?
You ask. No. Well, yes, kind of. I mean, that does fuck with your head, and honestly, when he does that shit, I just sort of check out. Problem is that it can stick a little, and it's made worse by the other thing he does.
Dave says, and his fingers tighten against your leg.
He also does this thing. The closest thing to it is chuckle voodoos or something. Durka says he just makes your brain drown itself in fear hormones or something. You see things that aren't there, get terrified from nothing, and if you're thinking to yourself, oh boy, I hope it's not my friend's dying, or something specific, that's just what he'll make you see. He reads all your surface thoughts to make everything suck super hard.
Dave says with a shudder. Your hand freezes, so Cal can really read his mind too. So if Dave goes back to him thinking about what you're planning to do, then it'll all go wrong. He can't know. You can't tell him. I'm sorry,
you whisper. You pet his hair a little more and think real hard about how dead you're going to make Cal soon, just as soon as you work out the flaws in your plan.
You don't have anything there that you'd miss if you couldn't get it again, do you?
You ask as casually as you can manage, and Dave tenses all over. He pushes himself up with a hiss of pain and turns to face you. Don't you dare go there,
he hisses at you. I promised I wouldn't,
you assure him. Yeah, you did, but you're asking shit like that, so I'm not sure I buy that,
Dave says sharply. I promise I will never set foot there. I will never confront your Lucis. Honest.
You swear, being perhaps a little careful with your wording. I mean it,
Dave says, and sets his hand on either side of your face. I know, and I promised, didn't I?
You say. Yeah, but man, I know how smart you are, and I know how strong you are, but you can't win against him in a fight. By the time you're close enough to see him, it's already too late. This isn't a problem you can solve with sick eye lasers. I'm not underestimating you. You're underestimating him. So just, please don't break that promise, okay?
Dave begs. You bite your tongue and nod. You'll hold to what you agreed to, but at least part of you knows that you're only sticking to the letter of what you promised, not the spirit. Terezi would probably applaud your cunning, but it makes you feel pretty shitty. If asking Dave for permission for this wouldn't make it impossible, you'd do just that. But you can't.
I'd hate to see you die,
he adds, and you're pretty sure your blood pusher clenches so hard it almost turns inside out. Me too, you say dumbly. Dave stares at you for a second before bursting into startled laughter at your stupid reply. The laughing agitates his injury, and he ends up flopped out on your lap again and grinning up at you. He reaches up and catches the side of your face in an uncoordinated but unmistakable pap. Ah, shit. He's going to kill you if he keeps on like that.
Things somewhat cool down after that. Dave is still hurt, so it's no surprise that being comfortable and having you continuously pet his hair makes him drift back off to sleep. You glance down at him when his breathing evens out to something slow and calm, and wonder if you'll be in this halfway limbo forever. Not his moirail, but not just his friend either. His concern for you is selfless, trying to give you the best shot at a good life. Or maybe he's trying to let you down easy? But he did say he pitied you, right? Or are you just imagining that?
You're in way too deep here. You think you need some help. You hesitate with your palm husk in hand for far too long before sending the message. AA, I think I need your help.
Oh, you don't often come to me for help anymore.
Fight me!
No! Oh, God.
Oh, no, don't. You okay?
I'm okay.
I gotta do that again.
Some things about Aradia.
Tell me.
She died, and when she was dead, she had a really hard time emoting. But Equius made her a robot body, and when she's inside of that thing, she has, slight access to more emotions, but it's still not great.
Okay.
So, she is right now robot, a little bit dead inside.
Okay.
AA, I think I need your help.
Oh, you don't often come to me for help anymore.
Yeah, usually because whenever I talk to you about things when you're still in that stupid soulbot, all you want to talk about is Equius, because he's basically the only thing you're allowed to care about.
I feel compelled to mention that Equius is simply the best there is, and that is all there is to say on the matter.
Now I'm starting to remember why I don't do this anymore.
Are you at least going to tell me what your problem is? Because it's not as if I couldn't use the entertainment. I am very bored.
I just wanted your advice on something because you know me best.
Except you have pointed out that I am an unreliable judge and have been since I died. Surely someone like LittlKat would be a more sensible choice, not that I am complaining.
Ordinarily you'd be right, but he's not exactly a neutral party here. I have feelings for someone.
For LittlKat? Ooh!
What? No. Look, there's a guy, okay?
Okay.
He's dating Karkat Flush, and I'm prong over nub for him paleways. So obviously Karkat's view on the whole thing is biased because of his feeling towards the guy.
Oh, you mean Dave.
Wait, you know him?
No, but Nepeta talks about quadrant drama all of the time, and Dave is the source of a lot of it. I know these things just by osmosis by now, I think.
Well, great.
A lot of people have pale crushes on him, it seems, and even Nepeta had a flush crush on him a while back when she was secretly still playing the game with him.
I thought her character died in that glitch that made most of us give up.
She remade one, and Equius was not pleased about it when he found out.
Huh, I didn't know that. Look, I just wanted your advice. There's something I could do to make his life a lot better, but it's dangerous, and for reasons that are too complicated to explain, I can't tell him about it until afterwards. I'm not expecting anything from him as, payment or anything. I'm not a creep. Just, you know me. Am I rationally trying to help out a friend I care about and also have feelings for, or am I being a stupid fuck who's just thinking with his pity gland?
That is an interesting question.
I have no idea if that's sincere or not. A radiobot exploded. Uh-oh. You contemplate how likely it is that Equius will try to fight you if he thinks this is your fault, but given that he did steal your girlfriend and jam her into a robot programmed to love him, you think he's well aware that no matter what you do, he's doing worse. Still, Aradia didn't exactly help you sort out your thoughts, which is not entirely unlike how she used to be. The girl tended to either get too involved in your problems, or often just not really get them.
You look down at the sleeping Dave and run a finger over one of his horns. You try to consider if you are doing things for the right reasons. You care about him, obviously, and yes, you also pity him, no denying that. But he's also in a god-awful situation where he has no options, and he's clearly so resigned to it that he's not even trying to figure out how to fix it. You want to argue that killing his Lucis to free him is the right thing to do, the best thing for him.
But are you doing it for the wrong reasons? Is the hope that if you kill his Lucis, he might change his mind on being with you?
Well, yes, kind of. Or that is to say that generally you hope that he'll change his mind no matter what. The thing that gets him to do so is incidental to you. You certainly don't think he'll owe you or any creepy shit like that. Not like that whole train wreck with Eridan and Feferi. You haven't talked to him in forever. You wonder if he ever worked out that you can't just gamify people, throwing the right act at them until they cave and be what you want.
Alright, different test. If you killed Cal and it all went well, if Dave was finally free of him, and Durka too, you suppose, but you care less about him, but Dave took it badly, what would you do? Say he understood why you did it, but the world's worst Lucis or not, Dave decides he can't be near you because you killed his Lucis. What would you do? You'd be sad? Yes, you'd be sad.
You resist the temptation to scream. You're trying to do emotional soul-searching, and the best you can come up with is, sad things would make you sad. Well done, you.
Try again. You help him out, but he chooses to cut all ties with you. Do you feel like you did the wrong thing?
You scowl at the ceiling as you think and finally look down at Dave. He's got a few other injuries here and there, a bruise by his shades, scuffs on his knuckles, and of course that giant cut you sealed for him. If you do something that means he never has to go back to Cal and be controlled like this, then you'll do it, even if he were to never talk to you again.
So you're doing it to help, not to get something, and you can't tell Dave until it's done. And though you can do it without breaking your promise, you have the squirmy feeling that he's not going to see that so charitably.
This is fine.
Okay, no, you lied. This is not fine. This is kind of very terrifying.
Still.
So I need you to swear to secrecy for this, and for a very good reason.
I find all absolutely not sketchy requests for surveillance tech starts with very innocent secrecy clauses. I'm very reassured.
You don't go anywhere near your Lucis anymore, though, right?
What? Why are you asking me that, and how do you know?
Dave told me it's just him who goes, and he also told me that Cal can read thoughts.
He will kill you if you go there. You clearly think you're hot shit, but you'll die, and he'll probably involve Dave in it too, and I'm not okay with seeing him hurt. I raised that kid.
Yeah, I know all of that too. I'm not planning on physically being anywhere near that place. That's why I want remote surveillance.
Alright, say theoretically that I agree to this, which I don't. But why do you need my secrecy, and why do you want cameras there? You can't kill him if you're nowhere near him. Your psionics don't have that kind of range. No one's does when it comes to lasers.
Yeah, well, I know a girl who builds doomsday devices for fun and owes me. What she'll give me is something that I can send off from out of Cal's range, and it ought to reduce the square mile around Dave's hive to nothing but melted rubble. I need the surveillance to make sure that Cal is definitely there, and that no one else is.
And if Dave finds out, Cal finds out. No more plan and likely no more Dave.
Which is why I need your help for the cameras and your silence until this thing is done.
If this is some big romantic gesture on your part to him, you've got another thing coming. The older he's got, the less he's liked anyone interfering with his life, even including me. Evidently, he's been keeping a lot from me. That much is clear from the last time we met.
Cal needs taking out. He hurts Dave, and what's the plan when he gets older and Cal decides that he should go off into space like your ancestor, but can't? Is he just going to turn into you and adopt some other poor wriggler who is going to suffer the same thing? He has to die. If Dave won't talk to me after that, but doesn't have to go back to Cal, then that's that.
I'll see what I can do to help. If you're planning on smuggling surveillance in there, then it'll need to be on Dave. I'll work on some designs. Just don't fuck this up.
Right.
Well, you either just did something very dumb or made a valuable ally in this fight. You really hope it's the second one.
You let Dave sleep for a good few hours until he wakes up on his own. He's got a lot of healing to do, after all. You float off when he does wake up, so you can cook something for you both. You're pretty goddamn hungry yourself. And you would walk over there, but Dave's horn was apparently digging into your leg real bad, and now you have the worst case of pins and needles ever, and like fuck are you walking if you don't have to?
You'll look after it, right?
Dave says suddenly from behind you. You turn and see him stroking his fingers over one of the leaves of the plant he brought you. He's leant on the counter, one hand cupped over his injured side. I said I would.
You point out.
How are you feeling?
You ask as you upend some chopped poultry of dubious quality and origins into the pan. Like I got stabbed, bled out, and wildly underestimated how bad I was hurt, only to have my dumbass saved by your laser brain.
He answers with a smirk. Thanks for the recap, dumbass. I already knew that. I was asking how you actually felt.
You sigh and stir the sizzling meat and vegetables. Look at you being healthy. You know it's only for him. You wouldn't be making something so good for you if he wasn't here. A treasonous voice in your head reminds you that him making you better is pale, that you looking after him like this is pale, except he's not your Moirel. You know when you've been really ill for a while and you feel all sweaty, gross, and shaky? I feel like that.
Dave answers you honestly. You step away from the cooker and press a hand to his forehead. He's a little clammy, but he's also notably cooler than you are right now. You hope that some of that is just your hands being warm from cooking, but you doubt it is. Dave is a mutant, and you run hotter than most yellows from the demands of your psionics. Most psionic yellow bloods run at around rusty levels of warmth, and even though he's off of the spectrum, he's always been a touch warmer than you. For him to feel cooler than you isn't a good sign. Yeah, you need more rest. And food, too.
You agree and return to your job of cooking. So, I was, thinking about that.
Dave says hesitantly. You make a noise to let him know that you're listening, but you don't want to give him anything to tangentially ramble off of. You're interested in where this is going.
I meant what I said about me being stupid when I looked at how bad I was hurt.
Dave says uneasily. He's not looking at you, but rather down at his middle, where his hand is over his sealed wound. You weren't stupid. You are obviously out of your mind thanks to Cal. It's not your fault.
You correct him. You rip open a pack of noodles with your teeth and dump them in with the cooked meat. Details. That's not my point.
Dave says, shaking his head.
I mean that I really probably would be dead if you hadn't have helped me. And I say helped, but I guess I mean fixed me all by yourself because I was less than helpful. I actually hurt you.
Dave says, frowning deeply. Don't worry about it,
you say tightly. Hopefully you won't have to worry about any of this soon. As soon as you can nail down Durka and Vriska's designs and get those sensors around Cal, you can make sure Dave never has to worry about it again.
Clearly Dave didn't interpret your response the same way, because he pulls on the neck of your shirt until he can peer in at the bite mark he left you. I'm fine,
you insist, waving him away. Uh-huh,
Dave says, obviously not buying it. He goes back to leaning against the countertop, and your focus strays to the place where you know he's hurt underneath that gold hoodie. He really is hurt. You could have lost him. KarKat could have lost the one person he can have a relationship with. His friends would have missed him. If you hadn't been there... There was something I wanted to tell you.
You say, because you have to now. Oh?
Dave asks, not really paying much attention, and instead psionically pulling an empty tin of sauce over to himself. Even his psionics are weak now because of what he's been through. I know Roxy and Durka are probably planning on challenging the Empress, and even if their friends aren't joining, they'll be gone soon too.
You say carefully, turning the heat down. Thanks for the cheery update,
Dave says, shaking his head. And you and KarKat aren't going anywhere because of your mutation, so the two of you will be here alone.
You continue. Yeah, alone, because you're leaving the planet like we agreed, because you're supposed to go be awesome,
Dave says firmly. You hesitate, but nod, weakened by the glare that Dave is fixing on you. I was looking for somewhere for you two to stay, somewhere to hide from the drones, but you could still get food, had shelter, all that. And then I realized that I'm not really an outdoors person.
You admit. I am shocked by this information. Shocked, I tell you.
Dave snorts. Shut up.
You huff and tug him out of the way from the cabinet with your crockery in. You pull out bowls and give the remorseless Dave a scolding look for mocking you.
So,
you continue on, unabated.
I went to go see a friend who knows more about that stuff than me.
Oh?
Dave asks curiously. Nepeta,
you answer. Oh, I know her. We used to hang back when I still hung out with Tavros, but I sort of stopped seeing her so much because her Moirel's not my kind of guy, so now it's just like group shit. But she's a cool girl. I like her.
Dave explains. Yeah, I have similar feelings to Equius,
you say stiffly. The fucker stole your dead girlfriend and crammed her into a robot. I bet.
Dave agrees, and clumsily levitates an orange ground root into his mouth. So I told her what I wanted, and, it turns out she already knew about KarKat, and why he'd be staying on the planet.
You say. She knows about him being a mutant?
Dave asks in wide-eyed surprise. Yeah,
you tell him. Actually, you still haven't told KarKat about that yet, and he needs to hear about this from you rather than from Dave, or he will try to strangle you with an Ethernet cable.
She actually got worried that she'd accidentally blabbed before I said that I knew too. But she doesn't know about you. She thinks you're just staying with him because you're that good of a mate for it.
You assure Dave, petting his hair as you talk and then realizing how weirdly pale that comes off. Shit, pretend you weren't doing that. You push Dave out of the way to get stuff you weren't intending on using from the hunger trunk. Great, a good cover story. He'll never notice. Well, I am the best. I'm sure KarKat talks about how wonderful I am all the time.
Dave brags. You narrow your eyes at him a little and lean in as if to inspect him. You sure you didn't hit your head?
You ask and he smacks you on the arm. You're just the absolute worst, and this is all mine now.
Dave says, hurriedly dumping all of the food you cooked in one bowl and scampering out of the room with it. You eye the forgotten fork on the side.
Rude! I just imagine, like crab walking to...
That's crab sprinting. That was wonderful. I like to imagine that's how Karkat would run too.
Yes, the two of them together. It's a mutant thing, don't judge us.
Don't judge them! They are in love!
You eye the forgotten fork on the side and roll your eyes. Somehow, you suspect the fucker with your food in the giant gold hoodie won't be too hard to track down.
You do find him, though you are surprised that Dave had his own utensils stored away and has managed to inhale a good deal of the food before you corner him. Not that you mind, he clearly needs it.
He sleeps a lot over the next 2 days and nights. He's not awake when you do tell Karkat that Nepeta and Terezi both know about him, and entertaining or not, you're not going to wake him up to watch Karkat flip-flop from panic to anger in a circular tantrum. He really has nothing to worry about. You'd bet that Nepeta keeps a fair deal of secrets from Equius, and she's blatantly not told him. As for Terezi, she might be deranged, but she is certainly loyal and fair. If she was going to sell Karkat out, she would have done it right away. Ergo, she won't do it.
As he sleeps, you work more on your list of supplies, trying to be as detailed as you can. Not just thinking of things he will need to survive, but what Karkat will too, without you. You try to avoid thinking about it, hoping he'll change his mind, or, failing that, knowing that you'll probably hide and stay too no matter what he says. He can be mad at you if he wants, as long as he's mad and alive.
On the third day, you blink awake to see him sitting on your bedroom floor, dressed and doing his shoes up. He's leaving. Dave!
You gasp, nearly aspirating soper in your alarm.
Oh, don't die! Are you okay? It sounded so stupid. I started laughing, but then I almost choked.
Don't choke!
Dave!
You gasp, nearly aspirating soper in your alarm. Smooth, Solix. Smooth. Hey, I'm cool. Go back to sleep. I gotta bounce. Roxy needs me to help her with something.
Dave says, getting up with a grunt and walking to the edge of your coon. You're still hurt.
You insist, climbing out. Nah, man, I don't even look hurt when I walk. Besides, this isn't the dangerous kind of job. She just needs someone small to get behind some old machines and plug things in for her. Everyone else she knows is too big.
Dave assures you. But...
You're trying to think of something you can say to convince him not to go because,
hey, dumbass, you nearly bled to death a few nights ago,
is evidently not good enough. Dude, chill,
Dave reminds you, and something raw and pale tugs in your chest. He reaches out and catches you by the side of the face. One sharp clawed thumb slips down over the sopery column of your throat, and you stay still. He could hurt you, but he wouldn't.
I'll be fine. Like super expensive high blood wine, the very finest,
he tells you. You nod, suddenly mute, and he flashes you a smile. He lets you go and steps back.
Wait, shit, he can't go just yet.
Dave, wait, you need this.
You call out and psionically throw your list of survival gear at him. He catches it in his non-soper-covered hand and peers at it in confusion. Is this? I know you said you were thinking about what me and Karkat would do after, but this is...
He flicks his hand clean and wipes what doesn't come off onto his jeans. It's just a first draft. I wanted to run it by you first before I showed it to Nepeta. If she finds you somewhere really close to a stream, then you might not need so much, but then if you have to move, then you'd be limited, so I don't know. I was thinking of hidden caches, too. You'd be fucked otherwise if all your stuff was in one place and it got set on fire or stolen or something.
You explain. You've put a lot of thought into this.
Dave stands there, flicking through pages in silence.
This is a lot. It's a lot of money, too,
he says slowly. So Roxy can pay. She's an heiress, she's gotta be loaded, and if she doesn't, well, I'll just...
You hesitate and shake your head.
Writing viruses that just skim banking info or blackmailing shitty high bloods is kinda stupid, and not why I make viruses, but if that's what
Dave interrupts you with a hand over your mouth. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're not doing that, because I know you're smart enough to know it's a really bad idea. The kind that'll get some saltwater psycho showing up at your door with a score to settle. Now, I'm gonna take my hand off you stupid trap, and the next word that come out of it better be, I'm not gonna do anything that's stupid, Dave. Alright?
He takes his hand off and stares at you. I don't want to do that.
You offer. Try again.
Dave says flatly. Maybe get Roxy to pay then?
You suggest. Try again.
Dave repeats, and tosses the list on the floor and grabs you by the shoulders. Look, if you want me to agree to go, or even think about it, I can't do that if I don't know that you're gonna be okay.
You say, although admittedly your intentions of going are still not fully set. They're more 50-50 at best. I'm gonna ask her, but if you get your dumbass caught doing this shit, then what do you expect me to do? Probably hunt down and lose a fight to a high blood is what?
Dave says, clearly irritated. He'd do that? If someone killed you, he'd hunt them down? Like a Moirel would? You can almost see the second that he thinks that same thought, because he lets you go and looks away.
Can you agree to not do anything stupid with this, at least until I ask Roxy?
He asks. Well, not you, but from the tilt of his head, you suppose he's kind of directing his question to your desk chair. I can agree to that.
You say quietly. You didn't have to do any of this, you know.
Dave mumbles, and picks up the paper and spirits it away into his own Silodex.
You lean on your elbows and look at him for a moment. Fuck it.
You know how I feel.
You point out, and that makes Dave look right at you. His cheeks go dark, which speaks good things about the amount of blood in his body now. He'd been looking anemic before. Shit, just don't say it, okay? I feel enough like I'm taking advantage already with you being there with all the shit with Dirka and then literally saving my life and...
He shakes his head. You resist pointing out that these problems could all be solved by him actually being your Moira, including him having the obviously pale impulse to curb your dumb decision-making and to avenge you. But just as he knows how you feel, you know that his answer is clearly still no, and you're not going to harass him over it.
But then, he still doesn't know about your plans for Cal, and you're not going to tell him.
Just read the list,
you tell him. Just stay out of trouble,
he tells you back. Just keep all your blood inside your body this time,
you retort, and Dave doesn't manage to stifle his laugh quick enough, and you catch it before he starts talking again. Just go to sleep, you big fucking nerd,
he counters, and shoves you, dunking you under the soaper. When you surface, he's walking off, tugging a different bandana over his face and pulling the hood down. You grin and, for once, do what you're told.
Yes! Yes!
Any last things you wish to say to the people?
Sleep well. Drink water, take your meds. I'll talk with y'all soon.
Thanks for listening. You can get in touch with us at the socials on screen, and if you make anything related to this project, we'd love to feature it, so let us know. This has been Nerdhilistic, celebrating what we love.